بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الأطهار الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ثم أماته فأقبره. صدق الله العلي العظيم. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our beloved Imam Mahdi Ajalallah ta'ala Faraj Sharif with the blessing of another loud salawat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst His companions and His sincere soldiers with the blessing of another loud salawat. Then He causes him to die and puts him in his grave. As you have followed us, our lecture for the past 15 nights, it's been about death and resurrection. Starting last night, we started discussing about the grave and what happened to us in grave. And as a reminder, the reason why we have brought this discussion, the topic death and resurrection for 30 nights, it's because of the importance of this topic, which many people try to not think of it, and many people try to avoid it, and many people have not been ready for those stages that we will go through time of ihtidar, the time that our soul has been taken away from us and we are being disconnected from this world and connecting it to the next world, and we are transferring from one world to another world, from one stage to another stage. It needs a lot of preparation, which since some people are not prepared for it, they are afraid of it. When I talk about death comes, they really fear death. Rather, the hadith says, أفضل تحف المؤمن الموت. The best gift that a believer can get is death. Reason why? Because Imam Hussein alayhi salam states, "Sabran bani al-kiram, famal mawtu illa qantara." Be patient. Maut, death, it's only a bridge. It's only a transition period. It's only from one place to another place. This period is called maut. تعبر بكم عن البؤس of difficulties and challenges to heaven, which is very wide. وَالنَّعِيمِ and benefit from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الدَّعْمِ continuous blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we will get after life or after death. فَأَيُّكُمْ يَكْرَهُ أَن يَنْقِلْ مِنْ سِجْنِ إِلَىٰ قَصْرٍ. Anybody hates and anybody dislikes going from a prison to a palace? Nobody dislikes it. Everybody likes it. وَمَا هُوَ لِأَعْدَائِكُمْ إِلَّا كَمَنْ يَنْقِلُ مِنْ قَصْرٍ إِلَىٰ سِجْنٍ. And for the enemies of you, O believers, Allah subhanahu, Imam Hussein in this narration is talking to you and I as a believer, where Imam says that you are going from a prison to a heaven, to a palace. And for the non-believers, for the disbelievers, they're going from their heaven to and their palace to a prison. And Abi haddathani an Rasulullah. Imam Hussein states that my father told me this narration from Rasulullah, anna dunya sijnul mu'min, that this world is the prison for the believer, wa jannatul kafir, and is the heaven for the believer, wal mautu jisru haula, and death is the bridge ila jannatihim, wa jisru haula ila jahimihim. So death is the bridge for the believer from prison to palace, and for the non-believer from their palaces to prison. Ma kadhabtu wala kudhibt. You never lie. If we see this world as a prison, we must strive, we must do whatever we can do in this world, but trying to take it for akhirah. That's why we are discussing for next 15 nights, and the previous night we talked about death and resurrection, because we must get ready for it. I'm trying to, when we have a perspective, based on that perspective, our life is shaped. When I think of death to be something very scary, when I think of death to be something fearful, I will always try to hide it. I will try always to forget it. I will try not to talk about it, not to mention it. But when I'm a believer and I see as this death to be a bridge to get to my eternal heaven, eternal happiness, I won't be afraid of death because I prepared myself. There was a scholar, Grand Ayatollah, sitting by the place that people used to come and visit him and ask for their needs. They asked him, Ayatollah, if death comes, if you were told that you were going to die tomorrow, would you do anything different? He said, no. I will just keep sitting here resolving people's issue. That's what I will do. Nothing else. Because this is what guarantees me satisfaction in hereafter. Another hadith which reshapes our perspective toward death. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says that قِيلَ لعلي ibn al-Husayn, they told to my father, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, ما الموت? What is death? قال للمؤمن كنزع الثياب وسخة قملة وفك قيود وأغلال ثقيلة واستبدال بأفخر الثياب. For a believer, death is like taking a very, very, very dirty clothes full of germs and viruses. You take the clothes and they're giving you the best clothes that you can even imagine. That's what death represents. Taking of the dirty clothes and putting new clothes on. بأفخر الثياب, the most luxurious clothes that you can imagine, you're taking and you're wearing it at the time of death. وأطيبها, the beautiful fragrance you smell from this clothes. وأطوأ المراكب, the best ride you will have. وآنس المنازل, you will be really comfortable in what's coming when death starts. وللكافر, however, for a disbeliever, كخلع ثياب فاخرة. For a disbeliever, removing the best luxury clothes. والنقل عن المنازل أنيسة والاستبدال بأوسخ الثياب. Those luxury life that they got out of haram, disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, in Rasulullah, in Quran, and so on and so forth, removing them from those luxury lives that they had to a very miserable. So this is death. So death by itself, it's not scary. It depends on my personality, my behavior. Was I a believer in this world? Believing in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran and the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So these 2-3 narrations, inshallah, it changes our perspective toward death. That inshallah we are not afraid of it because we are a believer. We are inshallah doing all of our wajibat, obligatory acts, and avoiding muharramat, inshallah. Thank you for those people who say inshallah. So, how Angel Azrael takes our soul. One angel, this whole world, how can he be, in a minute, hundreds of people die. How can he be in different places at one moment, one time? قيل لملك الموت, they ask Angel Azrael, كيف تقبض الأرواح وبعضها في المغرب وبعضها في المشرق في ساعة واحدة? How you take the soul at one moment? Many people die. Some of them are all the way to the east, some of them all the way to the west. فقال أدعوها فتجيبني. Azrael said, I call upon them and they answer my call and they come. قال فقال ملك الموت, Azrael continues, إن الدنيا بين يدي كالقصعة. The whole world between my hand is like a bowl. Or another hadith says that the whole world in my hand is like a coin. I can flip it anytime I want and whatever I want to touch. Like a bowl. When you have a bowl, you have complete bowl under your hand and you can go from the corner to corner without any difficulties. بين يدي كالقصعة بين أحدكم. بين يدي أحدكم. Same as you have a bowl in your hand, the whole world is in my hand. يتناول منها ما شاء والدنيا عندي كالدرهم. Like a coin, I flip it. في كف أحدكم. Like a coin that you flip it, the whole world, this is the way in my hand. يقلبه كيف يشاء. You twist the coin as you like. I twist the world as I like, and I take by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anybody's soul that I must take. These were some of the hadith that we left off with Azra'il and death. Let's go back to the grave. To the grave that you and I eventually, one day, sooner or later, that will be our eternal life until the day of judgment. That's where our body will reside. Our house that some people have built with their a'mal, and some people have destroyed with their a'mal. Story. Beautiful story. Unanimously, every book that you read, every lecture that you hear about death and resurrection and the grave, you hear and you see the story unanimously. A great scholar, one of the awliya Allah, he was by the grave, which is very, very recommended. Try at least once a month, twice a month, visit the graveyards of Muslims and do Fatiha for them. We have in Lee Highway, we have in Dumfries, we have different places. Try at least once a month, every other month, try to visit and do Fatiha for them. He said, I was by the grave, they brought a person and they buried him and they left. And since he was from the people of God, he was able to see for him to tell you and I. He said, I saw a very, very, very handsome looking guy, nicely clothed. He came and he got to the grave. I'm surprised. While I was still surprised, a very gruesome, ugly black dog came, got into the grave also. Very scary. My surprise even increased. I heard the fight within the grave. Screaming, barking, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. After a short period of time, the guy came out, all wounds and blood, and he's about to leave. I couldn't hold myself. I told him, who are you? What's happening? He said, this individual that was buried, I am his good deeds, I'm his a'mal, and that is his bad deed. We fought. Whoever wins this fight will be with him forever, and whoever lost has to leave. His a'mal, which is me, I didn't have enough strength. If you remember, we discussed about time of ihtidar, that we are in need of our belief and iman to kick in. And in order for our a'mal to help us at the time of need, we have to feed these a'mal. I have to pile and pile and pile a'mal. Rasulullah one day said, every salawat that you do, Allah built you a tree from the trees of heaven. Let's have salawat by the name of the Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. A person stood, he said, MashaAllah, I have jungles and jungles and jungles because I do a lot of salawat upon you. Let's have another salawat by the name of the Prophet. Ma salli ala Muhammad wa alim. Rasulullah said, hold on. But when you commit a sin, you're igniting a fire and half of this jungle is gone. When we commit sin, true that I have good deeds within the right shoulder and the angel that is on my right shoulder writing this, but also I have the left writing the evil. What is the balance? Am I aware of my good deeds and bad deeds? Which we discussed it. So our a'mal, if we want for that handsome individual to be with us, help us during the darkest night of our life ever, that we are really, really fearing every second of it. That is why we said we're supposed to read. It is good to read Salat Laylat al-Wahsha as soon as a person is buried. The night of fear, Laylatul Wahsha. That's the name of the Salah. Because the deceased really, really fears, completely alone, somewhere really, really strange, never seen like it, never experienced something like it, and right now he's on himself. Having somebody next to you giving you comfort, it's very, very needed. two meanings for qabr we see within our narrations. One meaning of the qabr is the actual grave that we see. 4 walls, 6 feet down. That's what we see. That's one meaning of qabr, which when we read in the hadith, we are not allowed to exhume the grave. We cannot dig and get the body out. It's forbidden. It's haram. So when we come to this word qabr in this hadith is the actual grave. The other grave that we see the meanings within the hadith is, the second meaning is where the soul will be taken place. Our soul won't be in this grave that we bury a deceased. There are 2 places that our soul goes. If we are a righteous person, our soul will be taken by malaikatul naqala. Naqala means the one who transfer. There are angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person dies, if he's a righteous person, they will take his soul to Wadi al-Salam in Najaf al-Ashraf. And if we are an evil person, our soul the body will be there. The soul will be taken to Wadi Barahut in Yemen. You can go ahead and Google both of them. Am I saying this based on myself? No. Let's look at the hadith. ما من مؤمن في كافي الشريف النوبل كافي ما من مؤمن يموت في بقعة من بقاع الأرض. Any believer who dies anywhere on this earth إلا قيل لروحه, except his soul will be addressed الحقي بوادي السلام, go to the Wadi السلام, وإنها لبقعة من جنة عدن, it is a piece of heaven on earth. Go and travel there and rest in that heaven until the eternal heaven. That's what happens to our soul, and we'll talk about it when it comes back, and the discussion, inshallah, it's coming night. We still the grave. قلت لأبي عبد الله, a person comes, this is also in Kafi Sharif. Let me give another action plan actually. We, inshallah, for those who have asked and called and texted, they have received the kitab, the book Tuhaf al-Uqul, and they are reading it. May Allah bless all of you who have started reading this book, beautiful book. And since we are approaching Layl Qadr and the nights of the martyrdom of the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, it would be very good if you can start reading the chapter that has compiled the narrations of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So when the nights of Qadr come, we appreciate those nights, and which are the nights of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, by knowing his narrations. Another series of book that alhamdulillah it has been translated into English is Usul Kafi. I have the translation of it, 8 volumes, PDF. I have it all here. Anybody who wants, it's very good to take every day a couple of pages reading the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It's our first of our 4 books of ahadith. So these ahadith are within أصول كافي. قلت لأبي عبد الله, a person asked Imam Sadiq عليه السلام, إني سمعتك وأنت تقول كل شيعتنا في الجنة. O Imam Sadiq عليه السلام, I've heard you that you have said that all of our Shia will be in heaven. ما كان فيهم قال في الجنة على ما كان فيهم, all of them. قال صدقتك كلهم. You are right. Wallah fil Jannah. By God, all of them, they will be in heaven. قال قلت جعلت فداك إن الذنوب كثيرة كبار. فقال, how about those Shias who commit sin, who are not righteous, who have sins? They are Shia, they claim to be Shia, the followers of you Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, but they're committing sin, some major sin, some minor sin. فقال أما في القيامة فكلكم في الجنة. On the day of judgment, after everything, you will be in heaven. بشفاعة النبي, the Nabi, the Prophet will intercede. أو وصي, or one of us 12 Imams will intercede for you. ولكني, however. See, it's beautiful. As we mentioned, between hope and fear. Verses of Quran and the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, both of them together keep us between hope and fear. Not being completely hopeful that, okay, I'll do whatever it comes, okay, as soon as I die, straight HOV lane, 120 miles per hour, straight to heaven. Nor losing hope that, oh my God, sins that I have done, there is no way for me to have a good ending. No. Between hope and fear. Imam says, Wallah. فقال, Imam says, أتخوف عليكم في البرزخ. I'm really afraid of the time that you will spend in barzakh. In the day of judgment, you get to us. Another hadith says, if we get to see you, we will intercede for you. Between trillions and trillions of people, Imam says, if we see you, we will intercede for you. Imam says, Wallah atakhawwafu alaykum fil barzakh. I'm really afraid the time that you will be in barzakh. Get yourself ready. Make sure your a'mal is good enough that you won't be also going suffer through barzakh. I asked, قلت وما البرزخ? I asked, what is barzakh? قال القبر منذ حين موته إلى يوم القيامة. Barzakh is from the time that you die in your grave until the day of judgment. I'm afraid what happens to you guys in this. We're a believer. If he was a true believer, but he had sins and he did not ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from what he has done in the past, and he died with that condition. He was a believer, but he had sins. During the time of barzakh will become the time of suffering and cleansing. And those suffering and process of cleansing in barzakh is nothing that we can imagine. We will talk about it. We will say what will happen, but we cannot comprehend it. Remember the first night and the second night we talked about two kids, twins. One came out of the womb. We just gave a hypothetical example that one of the kids came outside of the womb of the mother. Right now he wants to go back to the womb and tell the other kid what I saw outside. The one that is inside the womb won't be able to understand it because they haven't seen it. Oh, outside there's a sky. What do you mean sky? What is sky? This is sky. This is where we're... Outside is much bigger than the womb. Yes. There is a blue sky. What is blue? It's a color. What is color? There are people, or there are other people outside than this womb? No, this is it only. We bring narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, stories but we cannot comprehend it completely because it's beyond our senses. Wallah, Imam is swearing to God. Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they don't need to swear. When they swear, it shows the importance of what they're about to say. Wallah atakhawwafu alaykum fil barzakh. I'm really afraid what will happen to you to barzakh. Don't be saying, okay, alhamdulillah, I will have a good ending, heaven, I'll die. No. Either time of death, ihtidar, which we talked about it, righteous people dying very hard. Why? Or the time of barzakh, which we don't know. How long is time of barzakh for us? It's at least thousands and thousands of years from, if we die today, day of Qiyamah, it's at least thousands and thousands of years from now. How do we know? Because we believe in raj'ah. We believe that when Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif reappears after him ruling the world for a long time, Imam Hussein alayhi salam reappears, Imam Ali alayhi salam reappears, Imam Hassan, and all the Imams, they will reappear and they will rule the world completely. We believe in Raj'ah. So day of Qiyamah, it's very, very long. It's not worth it for me to, in this world, commit sins in 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, not controlling my gaze, not controlling my ears, not controlling my body parts, for me to suffer in barzakh until the day of Qiyamah or day of judgment, for me to enter heaven. It's not worth it. For me to protect myself a little bit more, for me to abstain from haram a little bit more, at least for alam al-barzakh, at least for the time of ihtidar. Qabr. Beautiful hadith. I'm hoping that I can finish it inshallah tonight. It's a lengthy hadith, but let's go through it. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also in Kaf al-Sharif. ما من موضع قبر إلا وهو ينطق كل يوم 3 مرات. Imam says, I will read the English, inshallah, Arabic. Some people can read it because if I go back and forth, my time is finished. Imam Salih alayhi salam says, every gravesite speaks 3 times every day. What does it say? What does our gravesite says every time 3 times? Every day 3 times. I am the house of soil. I am the house of misfortune. Grave is talking. And I am the house of worms. This body that I look after, that I think so much about the body, that sometimes I forget about the spirituality and my soul. The grave says, well, your body will come in me, and I'm the house of worms. That I spend hours and hours and hours looking after this body. If that makes me to forget about spirituality and religiosity, Qabr says, I'm the house of worms. The Imam then said, when a believing person, inshallah, we're all believers, inshallah. When a believing person enters the grave, it says, the grave tells the person, you are most welcome. By Allah, grave is saying to this believer, by Allah, I loved you when you walked on me. Why then should I not love you when you are inside of me? You will see what I can do for you. It's really worth it for us to be believer 50, 60 years for our, again, thousands and thousands of years that we will be in our grave. The grave will say, you will see what I can do for you. His grave opens for him as far as he can see, and a door for him opens to paradise, where he can see his seat in paradise. Therefrom a man comes out, the like of whom in beauty he had never seen before. And he asks, who are you? This believer asks this person who came out, who are you, O servant of Allah? He says, I have never seen before anyone more beautiful than you. That individual will reply to the believer. He will reply, I am your good opinion and your good deeds that you possessed and your good deeds that you performed. Every good deed that we do in this world, it's going to be benefiting us, everyone good deeds. Then the Imam said, then his spirit or soul is taken to be placed in paradise, where he had seen his dwelling, and it is said to him, rest here to the delight for your eyes. Rest here in this grave and this heaven until the day of judgment. O servant of Allah, I am your O servant of Allah, rest here to the delight of your eyes. Then he continues feeling the joy and fragrance of the breeze from the paradise with his body until he is resurrected. So whatever we do, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years of good deeds will benefit us thousands and thousands of years. Then the Imam said, when an unbeliever enters the grave, inshallah, we are not amongst these people, inshallah. When an unbeliever enters the grave, it says, you are not welcome at all. By Allah, I hated you when you walked on me, and it is more so now that you are inside of me, and you will see how much I hate you. Then the Imam said, the grave then applies a huge pressure upon him and turns him into ashes. Then he turns back into his form as before. Then it opens a door for him to the fire, where he observes his seat therein. The Imam then said, thereafter a man comes out to him, the like of whom in ugliness he had never seen before. The Imam also said that he then asked, who are you, O servant of Allah? I have never seen anyone uglier than you. He replies, I am your evil deeds that you performed and your filthy opinion. Then the Imam said, his soul is then taken to the place where he had observed his seat in the fire. Thereafter blows of fire continue striking his body that feels the pain and heat thereof until the day of resurrection. Allah will allow 99 very poisonous snakes to bite him. If any of them may blow to the earth, nothing can grow therein. Believer and a disbeliever. Righteous act, evil act. action plan. 99 snakes to bite him on every day. If one of those snakes blow to this world, nothing will grow anymore. Because we cannot imagine it. That's the beauty of the faith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, that you and I were following it. They have explained to us all the little details. It's a reminder. It's for you and I to become observer of our action. I'm about to say a word. Am I willing to take that snake? I'm about to... No. I'm about to... No. I'm about to insult. I will not. Somebody hurts me. I'm about to pay back. I'm allowed to pay back. The same amount, pay back. I said to myself, let me be patient. Allah is going to reward me for every time that somebody wronged me and I was patient. Numerous narrations I have seen of the person who swallows his anger or her anger, just swallows it. It's not worth it. For me to fight with my wife, for me to fight with my husband, for me to fight with kids, for me to fight with my parents, for brothers to fight, for sisters to fight, for relatives to fight, for what? How long do I want to live? It's worth it for me to take the pain and suffering. It's worth it. Sheikh, I can't take it anymore. Think a little bit. I'll take it, and I say, Allah, I'll keep this relationship for sake of you, because you don't want me to be separated, because that is not liked by you. Because of you, I will swallow this. Because of you, not because I want people to say, MashaAllah, you did a good job. Well, we lost all the thawab. No, oh Allah, I want your satisfaction that the time that you send Angel Azrael, for that moment, for me to be relaxed and for me to be comfortable. So the action plan will be, if you have a flash memory drive or email or WhatsApp me, I'll send you inshallah Usul Kafi, and start reading, go through. There is a whole chapter about death, about the grave, about Alam al-Barzakh, about our soul. There's English translation and the book is in Arabic. Let us get more comfortable. Let us get more accustomed to reading the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, in addition to the kitab Tuhaf al-Uqul that I have said. And the last but not least, become, from previous night that we have given action plan, become creative in reminding yourself of death. Because if we do this, every action of mine will be straightened, because I'm thinking death can come any minute inshallah. Let's have a loud salawat. By no means that salawat was loud enough. Let's have another loud salawat.